There it is. He timed it right.
Counting to explode with the left. Oh, and that right, but Davis took off some of the steam of the punch, but still.
Welcome to the motherfucking lady. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Bro, Claressa Shields, I don't know what state she from, man. They got legalized marijuana out there. What's she smoking on, bro? You know, we all saw her get dropped by her sparring partner, man. You know.
Yes. Oh. Yes. Oh.
It is what it is, man. She a female with an erection, baby. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, man,
She tries too hard. That's how she presents to the boxing community at large. That's their reaction to her. She's a goofy. She tries too hard to be relevant, to be controversial. She thought that she would appear big and bad. Look at me challenging the man. If you were going to challenge a male boxer to a boxing match, one would think you'd challenge one that at least has a history of beating women like Gervonta Davis or Jermall Charlo. You're so hip to fight a man, why don't you fight one that's got no problem hitting a woman? Why challenge little old Keith Thurman, who never said a disparaging word about you? You started this, you're the one that's kept it alive for all these years, and it's not having the desired reaction. When you go after him, when you go after Rolly, Keith described it as a woman with an erection. She's got a hard-on for him, a hard-on for them, simultaneously saying that she's filed legal action against 50 Cent. I think it's got something to do with that guy in Georgia claiming to have had a tryst, a sexual encounter with her, and 50 being tenuously associated with that story. It's all very hard to keep up with because when Claressa Shields makes headlines, it's seldom ever over an opponent or a fight that she's having. It's always something childish, something infantile. See how little talk there was immediately following her rematch with French on Cruz? Nobody was really talking about that fight afterwards. Whenever Claressa's brought up, it's always due to something outside of the ring. I saw veteran content creator Mr. Moonshine say that Claressa Shields versus French on Cruz 2 licensing fee was only $1.6 million, which billed to DAZN. That means Shields' guaranteed purse was, let's say, no more than $1.3 million. Less than the reported $2 million she's supposed to be getting per fight as a result of her new Win Records deal. Mr. Moonshine continued, Shields don't have enough money to pay for quality opponents. DAZN also stated in a recent interview that she got paid less than her previous fights, meaning she can't guarantee a high-caliber fighter their biggest purse. Further fueling my suspicions that she's hardly the face of women's boxing as some people would have you believe, because the face of boxing usually guarantees the biggest money. Like what Canelo does for a lot of guys in male boxing, Claressa doesn't do that for the girls. In women's boxing, for that, you'd have to see Katie Taylor or Amanda Serrano, not Claressa. Katie and Amanda pay out the biggest purses to their opponents. Mr. Moonshine continued, Claressa Shields was better off signing with MVP because she can't even afford to pay an MVP fighter to fight her. Papoose Penn better be working overtime because Shields may need Green and Michaela more than they need her. He's right. They both have options, not exclusive to a Claressa Shields fight. And in fighting Claressa, you know she'd demand the moon and the stars from the other girl's promoter, where if you're the face of women's boxing, you're supposed to be the one making the guarantees. You're supposed to be the one sells all the tickets, draws all the eyes. And her fights after all these years still don't do that. So why didn't she just sign to MVP? Seems a common sense thing to do. Michaela just did. It was likely out of pride. After having taken shots at Jake Paul and Amanda Serrano and the establishment for all these years, signing to MVP would have been an acquiescence to defeat. Can't beat him, join him. That kind of thing. Her pride wouldn't let her do that, even if it's costing her millions and millions of dollars that she could be making promoted by them. Instead, she lets her has-been rapper boyfriend facilitate a deal between her and Win Records that doesn't seem to be worth the $2 million per fight they said it was, and I didn't think it was. Who the fuck is gonna pay her $2 million a fight? Who the fuck is Win Records anyway? I never heard of them. I don't know of any other star athletes or successful music acts that they promote that they're affiliated with. Where did they come from? My original assertion was that the whole thing about her getting $2 million per fight was a sophisticated bluff, so that if anybody wants to use her in the future, like MVP, she can have a precedent to demand $2 million up front, on the premise that that's her guarantee. her win records deal.
Except that the deal is a sham, and her getting $2 million per fight, that's a scam.
Facilitated by her has-been rapper boyfriend that's approaching, what, 50 years old? While she basks in her newfound Uber celebrity.
Ew.
You really can't take her seriously. Keith Thurman doesn't. That's why he says she's just a female with an erection.
She's got a hard-on for him.
Best thing you can do is laugh it off and move on. Don't give her too much attention because that's what she's after.
Why not bring Crawford back? I was just telling somebody today, I said, if there's any reverse Uno card, because somebody says, you do a rematch with Danny Garcia. I said, man, he's retired. He's been retired. So why am I doing a rematch with Danny Garcia? He was like, no, you know, they always retire and they come. I said, no, we're going to bring anybody back. We want to bring Bud back. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, I was a part of that era, man. It was Thurman, Spence, and Crawford. And they fought each other, and they left me out of the picture, man. I'm sad, Bud. You made me sad, man. You know, can you be my friend, too? If there's anybody to pull out of retirement, though, it's Bud. But after this, man, honestly, it's everybody, man. I think a lot of champions from 147, anybody who's legitimate at 154, and who's Canelo fighting in September?
And Billy.
Oh, he got somebody? Yeah. Oh, if something happens, you can call me.
He's got all these bright ideas and all these plans for what he's going to do after the Sebastian Fundora fight, because in all likelihood, tomorrow's fight ain't going to pay him but so much.
And that's if he's fortunate enough to even win.
To keep some of these conversations alive, he's going to have to, claiming he would like to bring Terence Crawford out of retirement. You didn't want to fight him before when he wanted to fight you, and you were all champions at the same weight.
I didn't forget. I don't think anybody else did. You was one of the guys freezing him out. Top Rank actually made a play to get this guy in the ring with Terence, and Keith was more focused on fighting a faded Manny Pacquiao that ended up beating him.
Smooth move, hot shot.
Errol, for how many years did you duck Errol Spence Jr., who was on the same side of the street as you? Wasn't even side of the street politics with him. You were just scared. But now you want to fight him.
You want to act like you're the guy that was frozen out?
You must not realize that you're in the digital era, Keith. Anything that you've said before on camera is very easy to find, very easy to pull up. Nobody swerved you.
None of them.
The fact that Terence Crawford actually made it to the Errol Spence Jr. fight after 5 years of pursuing it, when you had it right there at your disposal on your side of the street.
You could have had that fight whenever you wanted that fight to win. Now, I don't think Errol would give it to him. I don't think Errol...
He wouldn't want to give Keith Thurman the satisfaction at this point, and he said as much himself.
Earl, so I'm over here arguing with my man right here. Yeah. He like, he gonna fight Earl about to fight Keith. I said, Earl's a bitter nigga. He ain't gonna fight him out of principle.
Man, I go to my grave for a fight.
I told him. I said.
Sometimes that's how fighters get at each other when they really don't like each other. They don't give each other the satisfaction.
Like Amir Khan did to Kell Brook for a good number of years. Oh yeah, eventually they ended up fighting eventually. We don't know for sure that that's going to be the case with Errol and Keith. So Keith can mention him all he wants. The ball is in Errol's court to entertain him, because Errol still is the bigger name.
It's Errol Spence Jr. that the Haymanites are still waiting to come back, not Keith. Keith has gone on so many hiatuses the last 10 years.
7 of which he was inactive. Literally 7.
People really don't miss him when he's gone. It's a shock that he's here now. What I think I sense how desperate he's become, that he would have took on a fight like this, because Keith ain't got no history of taking on dangerous fights. Danny Garcia...
Everybody knew Keith was going to win that fight. Everybody picked Keith to win that fight. Manny
had already got manhandled by Jeff Horn. He was already interpreted as being an aging fighter past his best. That's the only reason he fought him. Keith has no history of taking on formidable adversaries and dangerous fights. So that if he's doing this now with Sebastian Fundora, it's a sharp deviation for him. He would have grown quite desperate over time that he's now taken on a risky fight like this one.
He needs money.
It's been a year from the Brock Jarvis fight that he had last year, and before that he hadn't fought in something like 3. So he's gonna need money.
That's why he's here now, taking on this risk.
But you know, true love is something that you never want to let go. So until these boys get rid of me, your man Keep On Time Thurman gonna be here. And the new, he can't stop this. This is timber, it's happening. He going down, flashbacks all day.
I'm feeling that energy. This is your first fight back in Las Vegas in 4 years. And fun fact, my first boxing match ever that I worked was you versus Guerrero. So it's kind of a full circle moment right here. Is there any last message you want to send to Fundora?
He already knows. He's gonna feel it, man. He's gonna feel it. Y'all wanna know what I'm gonna do? It's simple, baby. We're gonna hurt this boy. We're gonna hurt this boy. Easy work. Easy work. Chop him down like wood, baby. Look at the brick. Look at those little sticks. Little stick legs, stick arms, light chin. Easy work. I promise you. I promise you. I promise you can love him. But he don't belong in the ring with Keith Thurman. And you're gonna see why tomorrow night.
We'll see when that bell rings, Keith. You're right. Good luck tomorrow. Thank you. Sebastian.
Like to think I'm pretty good at reading people and just judging from Jordan Plant's reactions or the lack thereof to Keith Thurman's bravado gave me the impression she's just not buying it.
I'm not either.
Keith Thurman is so obviously selling a fight, and you can't begrudge him for that, though. Does he actually believe in his own bravado? Does he believe what he's saying?
I'm looking at Jordan and I'm thinking, she's thinking, I don't believe you. I don't believe him either, Jordan.
So what am I expecting to see tomorrow night? I believe that in the early goings of the fight, while Keith Thurman is still fresh and has something in the engine to spend, he'll make an earnest effort to get close to Sebastian, try to land something.
Simultaneously, that's where his window of opportunity is, to land something early so he can get some respect.
Give something for Sebastian to think about. You're not just gonna bully me, you're not just gonna walk me down. That's the message that Keith Thurman's gonna try to get across in the early goings of the fight, but I think he's gonna fast find out that it's actually difficult to get to Sebastian Fundora. He's so tall, so long, so awkward, using his length and his jab.
He's not holding his feet anymore, giving up his height anymore.
I think after 3 rounds, Keith Thurman's gonna realize it's actually difficult to get close to this guy to land punches. Mild-mannered as Sebastian might be outside of the ring, once the opening bell sounds, he's no wallflower.
He's gonna let punches go. You don't have to ask him to do that either.
Hard punches. There's a legitimate argument that Sebastian Fundora presents as the hardest puncher that Keith Thurman would have fought, the most solid fighter that Keith Thurman would have fought in a very, very long time.
He's gonna feel the effects of that after round 3. Keith Thurman looks to have put on considerable muscle for this fight.
37 years old, having not fought in over a year's time, that muscle could slow him down, competing at a new weight where he's only fought once. That much more muscle eats up that much more oxygen. That's how it works. In the mid-rounds, realizing that landing on Sebastian is not as easy as he initially thought, that's when Keith Thurman will resort to moving and trying to stay on the outside of his punches, trying to survive, trying not to get hit.
Because I don't think Keith Thurman's gonna try to bring the fight to Sebastian.
Take it to him and crowd him in the pocket. I think he's gonna try to move, try to box like he usually does, except this time it's not gonna work. This guy's too tall and too long for you being the little guy to try to stay on the outside of him.
So Keith is gonna move and groove, try to block, try to box.
Try to set something up, but it's gonna be too difficult. This is gonna go on for a while before the damage starts to set in. If Sebastian's gonna knock Keith out, I don't think it happens early. I think it happens maybe round 8, round 9.
It's gonna take a while.
Because Keith's gonna do his best to mitigate how much damage he's taking in the mid-rounds. Do his best to survive. After a while, I think he's gonna stop fighting, stop trying.
Start surviving.
The conservative prediction is Sebastian Fundora on points, on the premise that if Keith stops fighting and just starts surviving, it's hard to knock a guy like that out because that guy's not opening up. He just wants to finish the fight on his feet. I've seen more than one person make that pick.
Fundora on points.
I'll go a step further and pick him by way of knockout. Keith Thurman, for me, is largely unprepared for this fight. Nothing he's seen in the welterweight division would have prepared him for an opponent like this. He has no history of taking on dangerous adversaries. This is too sharp a deviation for a man 37 years old, a year removed from the sport.
I think Sebastian's gonna stop him late.
That's my official prediction. Sebastian Fundora by way of knockout, somewhere at or around 8 or 9 rounds. Now, if I get this one wrong, and Keith Thurman pulls a rabbit out of a hat, does the unthinkable, and becomes a 2-weight world champion, that will be enough to get him a spot on the Ring IQ pound-for-pound list. In the bottom tier, he would have a credible enough argument to bump Erislandy Lara out of that number 10 spot on the premise that Keefe would have beat WBC champion Danny Garcia at 147 and followed it up by beating WBC champion Sebastian Fundora at 154. 2 champion scalps, making him a 2-weight world champion. That would be enough for him to bump Lara off.
I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think it's going to come to that, but if it does, I'll give Keefe his just due. I won't deprive him of his plaudits.
See, one thing I was trying to explain to people is that Fondora's got some great wins on his record, but a lot of those men are broken souls. Erickson Lubin, he was knocked out before, and by the time he got Tim Tszyu a second time, the Tim Tszyu that quit in the ring, instead of the Tim Tszyu that bled down his face the whole time, he was knocked out before that second rematch. So he really tasted defeat, Keith Thurman's never tasted defeat. So you got to deal with a soldier, and when Mike Tyson talks about that punch, Fundora, he's been knocked out before. This is what I was explaining. The psychology is when a big punch lands, no matter how much confidence he is reestablishing after his first career loss, and he's back on a roll, people. He's back up, he's climbing that ladder high. Okay, he's feeling good. And when he gets hit, every cell in his body
Felt it necessary to highlight that recent soundbite from Keith Thurman ahead of this weekend's fight because it sounds almost like he's trying to convince himself.
Of what he's saying?
That while it is true that Sebastian Fundora has been knocked out before, in the time that that's happened, he's shown resilience, he's shown resolve. After suffering his first career loss, he came back better. He came back stronger. He made adjustments. I don't think we can say that about Keith. They both have one loss apiece, Sebastian and Keith.
Keith Thurman asserts that while Sebastian has racked up some solid wins, those were all over broken men.
Maybe they were. It's not the craziest thing I ever heard, but who's to say that Keith Thurman is not a broken man? Just because it didn't happen in the ring doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Could have happened over time.
While you faded into obscurity and all of your contemporaries went on to do bigger and better things than you. Terrence Crawford, who you used to regularly take shots at, who you used to trash, emerged as the best fighter of your era. And you?
You're begging him for a fight now where you used to ignore him. It's the same with Errol Spence Jr. What do you think that does to Keith Thurman's psyche, that there was once a time where he was in the driver's seat and that time is long since passed? Now he has to beg these guys for an opportunity.
Some would call that a sign of a broken man.
Some are bigger fans of Keith Thurman's philosophy and trash talk than I am. All I see is a guy trying to convince himself and trying to convince the audience that he's still got it. But if he still had it, he wouldn't have had to have been so careful,
so cautious.
In the years that followed his loss to Manny Pacquiao, and how many years ago was that? 5? 6? It's been that long. Took you 2 years to come back from that loss to Manny Pacquiao, just to end up taking 3 more years off after the rebound fight with Barrios. Some would call that a sign of a broken man. Man who doesn't really want to box anymore. He only does it because he has to.
He needs the money.
So maybe Sebastian has been pouncing on otherwise broken fighters, but who's to say that you're not a broken fighter? If you're not, there's only one way to prove it. You know what to do.
Let's see if you can.